Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. Promising young player Brandon Podziemski is playing 8 games for the Warriors and is a hope for the future. Would it be viable to trade him? To involve him in a trade, it will only be worthwhile if it's for a star who will elevate the Warriors from a play-in team to a title contender. And that player would be superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Golden State Warriors have made it no secret that they view Brandon Podziemski as a franchise cornerstone. Warriors insider Anthony Slater reported on 95.7 The Game in 2024 that the team is unwilling to trade him and his role has only grown within Steve Kerr's rotation since then. With Giannis Antetokounmpo formally informing the Milwaukee Bucks that he would like to be traded, however, Golden State must be willing to change its stance if need be. It's too soon to know if Milwaukee would request Podziemski in a potential trade, which could make this a matter of unnecessary conjecture. He's one of the most talented young players on the roster, however, and the Bucks are soon to enter a rebuild if Antetokounmpo is, in fact, traded. Podziemski could thus become instrumental in crafting an offer that Milwaukee would not only consider, but would take precedence over the others it's certain to receive. It would admittedly sting for Golden State to lose one of the few guards on its roster capable of creating offense. In 2025-26, Podziemski is averaging 12.2 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 1.1 steals, and 1.7 three-point field goals made per game on .462/.386/.739 shooting. When it comes time to acquire a superstar in their prime, however, prioritization is often the difference between valid and meaningless trade offers. Warriors were previously unwilling to trade Brandon Podziemski. By acquiring Antetokounmpo, the Warriors would instantly become a factor in the Western Conference. One could argue they already are, but Antetokounmpo would be joining forces with fellow two-time MVP and one-time Finals MVP Stephen Curry. Together, they'd form one of the most dominant forces in the NBA, with elite scoring numbers and a unique combination of on- and off-ball value. Antetokounmpo is currently averaging 28.0 points, 10.0 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 0.9 steals, and 0.7 blocks, in just 29.2 minutes per game. He averaged at least 30.4 points per contest in each of the previous 3 seasons and is a 7-time All-NBA first-team honoree. Curry is averaging 27.3 points per game himself, and as the best shooter in NBA history, has all of the skill to play off of Antetokounmpo if he's required to alter his role. Giannis Antetokounmpo is worth a massive Warriors gamble. With Antetokounmpo operating as a defensive anchor, the Warriors would have a superstar duo capable of providing value on both ends of the floor. The logistics are admittedly tricky, as Jimmy Butler is a 36-year-old star with an ideal contract to match Antetokounmpo's, but the Bucks may not want to take him on while he's injured. That could ultimately force Golden State to part ways with franchise legend Draymond Green, as well as Jonathan Kuminga and perhaps even Podziemski. A strong foundation would remain, however, with Antetokounmpo and Curry at the heart of the team's efforts. They'd ultimately pair with either Butler in 2026-27 or Green for the remainder of the 2025-26 campaign, with one of Moses Moody or Podziemski operating alongside them. There will hopefully be a way to acquire Antetokounmpo without losing Podziemski, but if it's what's required to complete a trade, the Warriors must prioritize the superstar. Giannis bombshell gifts Warriors chance for perfect Steph Curry arc. Golden State has their chance to make a move for Giannis and salvage the end of Curry's career. On Wednesday morning, the NBA world got news that Giannis Antetokounmpo could potentially be on his way out of Milwaukee. If that's the case, the Golden State Warriors have the ideal opportunity to manufacture a trade proposal and try to get Stephen Curry a teammate that could actually make the final few years of his career meaningful again. Times have been hard on the Warriors as of late. Golden State lost Jimmy Butler for the season last week, and what was once a season with just a glimmer of hope turned into a completely lost one. With Butler healthy, the Warriors would have had an outside chance of making a deep playoff run and giving Curry a chance at one more championship. But even then, the chances were highly slim. Now, they're borderline non-existent. The Warriors don't have much to play for at the moment, which led me to think it might be a good idea to just make a nostalgic move and bring back Klay Thompson. But with this new bit of news, perhaps Golden State can actually make something meaningful happen, and give Steph the type of teammate that could help him win championship number 5. The Warriors have to make a play for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, acquiring Giannis was never going to be easy. But this new report indicates that Antetokounmpo is ready for a new home, and it could be the ideal time for the Warriors to strike. They have a piece of leverage that most teams can't claim, employing a superstar like Curry that, even if he's a bit older at this point, could give Giannis the type of teammate he would love to have by his side in this next stage of his career. Those two, along with whatever supporting pieces Golden State can retain in a hypothetical trade, would put this franchise in a position to finally be a legitimate contender in the West once again. For too long, the Warriors have been overly optimistic about their roster without enough talent to truly make noise in the West. This would change that circumstance in a hurry, and the best part is that it would keep Stephen Curry relevant until the end of his career. Instead of riding off into the sunset on a perpetual middle-of-the-pack team, number 30 would get to end it still fighting for a championship, the way other legends like Tim Duncan did it. The Warriors would have to give up probably every meaningful asset they have to acquire a player like Giannis, but this is unquestionably their chance. Warriors face brutal truth in any Giannis Antetokounmpo trade. In the end, it might not work in their favor. If Giannis Antetokounmpo requested a trade today, or if the Bucks made him available, the Golden State Warriors would be among many teams making their best offer. The problem is, though, that the 31-year-old said he'd never request a trade, and Milwaukee would never trade him if he didn't explicitly say that's what he wanted. Oh, and there's the fact that to get him, Golden State would have to tear apart its roster and future. If push comes to shove and the Bucks trade Giannis, it wouldn't look anything like the return package the Mavericks received for Luka Doncic last year. Milwaukee would want to set itself up as well as it could in its post-Giannis era. Would a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade be worth it for the Warriors? For the Warriors to get him, it'd probably mean getting rid of Draymond Green, or Jimmy Butler if the Bucks wanted him, Jonathan Kuminga, and at least 1 to 2 other players, Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski, as well as picks. You might be wondering why the Bucks would want an offer made up of some combination of the one above, considering they would, or should, enter a rebuild after trading Giannis. Kuminga is young, 23, but still unproven. Podziemski is 22 and is the kind of player whom Milwaukee should target in a return. Still, to reach Giannis' $54.1 million salary, the Warriors would have to give up Green or Butler. If Giannis did officially hit the market, the front office probably wouldn't be thinking about what the ramifications of that kind of trade would be, but instead about how it'd boost the team's chances of winning another title with Steph Curry. Their desperation to do so could be enough for them to put together their best possible offer. Still, even then, it might not be enough, not just because the Bucks might be seeking a different return, but because the Warriors may not be a championship team. Steph and Giannis on the same team would, in theory, vault Golden State back into the title conversation, but how would the rest of the roster around that duo look? Would the Warriors have the depth they need to make a run? Or to withstand an injury to one of their 2 stars? Again, the front office likely wouldn't spend a lot of time pondering the above questions, but would, understandably, jump at the opportunity to get Giannis. It's the outcome they've been planning for, without knowing for sure that it will ever happen. They'd make the move if the Bucks agreed and worry about the rest later, but the rest could come back to haunt them pretty soon. Proposed Jonathan Kuminga Warriors trade lands Cavaliers' $91 million former All-Star center. Jonathan Kuminga will be the key to the Golden State Warriors' success toward the end of the trade season. Assuming Jimmy Butler and Draymond continue to be off the table in trade talks, Kuminga will be used to help the Warriors upgrade their roster before a pivotal stretch of the year. In a proposed trade created by Sports Illustrated's Duke Deming on Tuesday, the Warriors would cut ties with Kuminga in favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers' 6'9" former All-Star. The Golden State Warriors have played inconsistent basketball this season, but they remain in the playoff picture with a 26-22 record, which puts them 8th in the Western Conference, Deming wrote. Recently, the Warriors took a major blow when Jimmy Butler III was lost for the year with a torn ACL. Stephen Curry has shown he can still carry the offense in his 17th season with Golden State, but he'll need more help if the team wants to make a run, especially after losing Butler III. Evan Mobley's emergence as a young NBA star also creates more flexibility, as the Cavaliers can play him at either power forward or center. That versatility makes it easier for Cleveland to consider moving Jarrett Allen, if the return is strong enough. With that in mind, let's break down what a mock trade between the two teams could look like: Kuminga and a 2027 first-round pick to the Cavaliers for Allen. Allen would be a substantial upgrade over the Warriors' current frontcourt unit. While not a legitimate perimeter shooting threat, Allen is an impactful rim runner, viable interior defender, and elite low-post finisher who's never shot below 58.9% from the field since joining the NBA in 2017. At the end of the day, the Warriors would love to acquire another superstar, but if the franchise is unwilling to trade two of their most valuable trade assets, they may have to settle for a contributor like Allen.